Hey, Anna, so great to have you here today with us. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, I am a knowledge manager for a technology company by the name of Tyler Technologies. I work under a department called Courts and Justice. So what we do is we provide software support for clients all over the world, even in Australia and most recently in the Philippines. We have offices in the Philippines and we have one office in Australia. And what we do is we provide case management systems for governmental entities or hospitals and also schools. So our department in particular is courts and justice, so mainly um, with county courts at law and district courts, municipal courts, and police departments.
And when you got into this role, it's interesting because if you go through college, there's not necessarily a degree that says, "Hey, get a degree in knowledge management." Um, Most people it seems like they fall into this role somehow, and would love to hear your story of how you got into this role. Now, working with lots of different types of information from what it seems, you have different countries that you're working with,
Mhm.
and that could add to that level of complexity as well. And here you are able to do it. So, how did you get into this role?
Okay. So for the last 15 years, I've worked primarily in courts and justice. So I started working for municipalities for their courts offices and then to county courts and district courts. So that's where I started. I was primarily either a manager or assistant manager in those roles. So how that coincides with knowledge management is that you have a role as a manager or as an assistant manager to teach and train new employees or kind of sort of like your onboarding for new employees. So with that, there's a lot of information that you have to retain in order to have for the next new employee or for the next new employer, even to retrain current employees. And a lot of that information is documented on paper. Uh, so what we've found out is that a lot of our employees, they were tenure employees, so they've been there 15 to 20 years. So this information is not really information that they had in paper, but it's information they had in their head. So if you wanted to train with the best person, we sat you down with a person that was there for the last 20 years. So if that person retired, all of that knowledge and all that learning went with that person. So during my roles in each of those capacities, I was making sure to document that information. That way, we continue to update and continue to have it for new employees. That way, they wouldn't be too much of a hurdle to get that information when we had another employee either retire or go to another job. So, and working for municipalities and going through the county and the district courts, I was promoted to a senior business analyst. So there's a lot of different types of business analyst. In this one particularly, I was a functional analyst. So what that means is I was familiar with the court's processes and procedures. So what I was to do was to go to our different divisions for our department and make sure that they were doing their processes, make sure that I was going over their processes to make sure they were running efficiently and that we were not wasting time and the way that we were processing information or helping clients. We were doing it quickly and efficiently. So I did that for several years, and then I winded up quitting that job to go back to school and finish my degree. So my degree is actually in political science. So when I was looking for a job after I graduated, I went to one of our vendors, which is Tyler Technologies. So since I was already familiar with the software, I was already familiar with the training. They had a role that was open, it was new to them, called a knowledge manager. So I applied for the job. I was offered the position. And since it was a new position for them, they only had like a job description. So on that job description, I had to go and kind of like recreate the things that I was supposed to do. So the first year I used to research. I researched all of our resources, I researched our training information, and then I looked at anywhere where I might have seen a gap. And after going over the gap, then we created an atlas for the year to go over those areas that we saw needed some, like more of an effort to either recreate a training program or maybe go back and retrain current employees on knowledge management. So that's how I'm in this position today.
Wow. And when you're pushing those type of initiatives forward, it's not always easy. I know you have to work with a number of stakeholders and get buy-in. And ultimately, there's a lot of things that go into making you successful at what you do. Can you talk about maybe some of the key elements that have enabled you to continue with your career success as you've progressed in your roles?
Yes, um, primarily meeting and understanding how to speak to your director or manager, because you have this idea that, or this idea in your head, you're like, I have this great idea. I want to create this program. I think it's going to be really great. But one of the things that you have to consider, that where I've had a lot of like managers and directors come to me, it's like, stop, that sounds like a great idea, but not everybody learns your way. You need to understand who your audience is. And so the way that you're creating it, you're ensuring that this information, that everyone is going to be able to receive the information that you're teaching. So one is understanding that when you're bringing information to your managers or to your directors, or you're bringing an idea for a project, you need to be able to answer those questions. You need to be able to go over the information and make sure that you're not bringing problems to your director or to your manager. So if you're saying, I want to be able to do this program, but I need this, that, and the other. When you're bringing information or you're bringing an idea for a project to your director, to your manager, you need to be able to already have those questions. The first thing that you do is you look for resources that you currently have that you don't have to pay for. So what are resources that I have right here in front of me? What are we using, or what are we not utilizing? So then I would work with our information department, or our IT department, and see all the applications that we have available to us that we're already paying for, and then seeing which each of those application provides in order to be able to complete that project. So this way, when I go to my director, to my manager, said I need to do this, that, and the other, and they're wanting to know how. So I already have that information, and I'm showing them that this is going to be little to no cost to them. And that's one of the things that I've seen that has been most beneficial, is answering those questions and kind of perceiving what those questions might be before I get to my director, to my manager, and then have those already answered for them.
And taking more of a bird's eye view here of what you just said. Now, when we look at the skills that go into something like that, and we highlight the skills to be successful in the position, it sounds like resourcefulness is definitely one of them.
Yes.
Can you go over a few more that you think would be really helpful for someone to step into this role and execute well?
There's free resources that you're able to look, as far as if you're really wanting um, to do some self-study. There is a resource called the Consortium of Innovation, I think it's called, and that actually has all the information free for you to be able to read right now. So it's information on the different methodologies in KCS practices, and it also has an opportunity for you to be able to gain a certification in KCS. And it's called the KCS V6 Fundamentals. So that is at a lower cost. I think it runs around $200 to $400. And if that's something that you're really interested in, I would encourage someone to go ahead and get that certification. You have to understand that sometimes it's not in the budget, especially for new positions like a knowledge manager, to be able to gain those certifications right away, especially when you're a new knowledge manager. But when you invest that time and money into yourself, and even though it's not in the budget for your job to reimburse you, if you're able to do that on your own, you have to understand that employers look at that. And if you're willing to invest in yourself, then down the line, they're willing to invest in you.
Yeah, there's definitely a buy-in that happens. You have to buy into yourself and your potential first.
Yes.
And I think that's really hard for a lot of people to do. They hope their manager or hiring manager buys into them first, but you got to buy into yourself first.
Yes. And then if money's an issue, I know that Google has a lot of different programs. They have I think it's called Coursera or Coursera. And you can actually apply for grants, or you can apply for a scholarship, even for the smallest classes. And that was an area that I also did, as far as wanting to learn more about like different computer programs and things like that. I applied for a scholarship, I received a scholarship, and then I took those courses.
Yeah, I think some people don't know how little people actually apply to scholarships sometimes. Sometimes I've heard a lot of wild stories of people applying, then them getting a big scholarship because they were maybe one of two people who ended up applying, and they didn't know.
I think
And
a lot of people think that you have to have the job and able to have those resources. But if you really want something, you're going to look on your own and research that in order to find those resources and make that happen for yourself.
100%. And talking about resources, what are some of the tools that you like using, whether on your job or that you found useful and just helping your career?
One of the main things is your creativity. Like if you're one who likes to draw, you like to create things, you like to think outside the bubble. The way those things help you out is if you're giving information or you're providing like quick reference guides or what are known as QRGs to your coworkers and to clients, is they want something that they can quickly reference. If you hand somebody over a 100-page training manual, they're going to be like, and you're going to be like, here are all your answers. You're like, great. What am I going to do with all that? So one thing that I've learned, things that were also free and available to me that I found were a program called Canva, which if you just go onto canva.com, it's actually used for a number of resources, but you can create like little websites or newsletters and things like that. And you can incorporate all the information that you're trying to relay to your team members or to your clients, and you're able to publish that. And it makes the least creative person look the most creative. And when you look at this information, you're receiving it, then it gives a different way for that person to learn. So you can email it to them. It becomes an electronic document. They can share it with another person. So that's one of the tools that has really helped me. Also has been learning Vimeo, which is a video recording application. Again, it's another application that's free. You can go on, you can create 5-minute training videos. What I've learned during my career is that it is much harder to retain information at a 1-hour class than it is to retain information at a 5 to 10-minute class, especially when you're getting into just learning a certain process. So it's called micro learning. So a lot of different jobs, a lot of different companies practice micro learning, where they have certain aspects of your position and your job and your responsibilities, and they push it into it's like a 3 to 5 minute video. And we have a lot of even our training materials for clients that are 3 to 5 minute videos for learning certain parts of the application. Because again, you go from this 100-page manual to these little to 5-minute increments, specifically what you're looking for, like how to create a case, how to take a payment. And when you condense that information and then you provide it to them in a format that's really inviting to be able to read and to keep, then I think that's been the most helpful. So learning Vimeo, learning Canva, and then being able to condense information or look for information that people are most frequented.
Yeah, I think you said micro learning reminds me of this idea of like topic-based, information architecture, where people just want the answer to their question. They want to go. They want to be like,
a wonderful example, one that everyone is familiar with, is TikTok. It's a version of micro learning where they condense. You have all these videos. I think they've made now. At first, it was like 1 minute, and now it's like, I think it's up to 3 minutes, isn't it? Where you have all this information, but you're able to learn Excel, you can learn spreadsheets, you can learn Power BI, whatever you want to learn, all the information is there, and it's ready for you to look up and learn right away.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how I think it is effective to some degree. I think when it comes to social media, there's a little bit of a balance too. It's like, wow, I can get all this, but then you spend an hour looking at so many different topics.
As long as you can condense the information to what you're looking for, like this is the things that I'm interested, this is the things that I'm interested in learning. And another thing is that's most important especially when you're working from home and you're doing knowledge management or you're practicing knowledge management, is to be able to block your time for like self-study time and then work time or project time. So as long as you block your time out during the course of the week, then it's easier for you to stay focused so that you're not down that like TikTok tunnel.
Now, when we think about the future of knowledge management, and it's interesting that you bring up TikTok, because it is somewhat based around topic learning, and there's a lot of things happening with technology and knowledge management, and also just different industries that are coming about, as well as like AI technology that people are bringing up. And of course, lots of buzzwords.
Mhm.
When you think about the future, what's some of the first things that come to mind?
One of the things is probably this was a question that I saw, but I wasn't really sure how to answer because there's so many different aspects where you can go. Um, I didn't know about knowledge management until I came to Tyler Technologies. But if you really think about knowledge management, you understand that it's a way of knowledge sharing. So making sure that you retain information at a company and that you're helping people solve their own issues. And one of the most important things is you're saving the company money as far as the time that it takes for that client to be able to find an article for an issue that they had self-resolve. That way they're not taking the time of a customer support person to work with them to fix the issue. So that's one thing. Things that I think that are coming are probably like even in schools or even in, I think really in every single job that you can, as long as you have the information, you're able to harness it wherever you are and you continuously sharing that information. One of the main things that you do is you reduce the time that it takes to onboard a person. So you have all this information and you have it available and they can search the information right away and it's readily available. Then your training time reduces from, what is that, 6 to 8 weeks to 2 weeks. And then you have customers, you have new client support representatives able to answer questions and help clients within 2 weeks of being hired. So if you're reducing the onboarding time, then you're allowing the availability to work on other projects that might be a higher priority, as long as you're practicing knowledge management. So really, I think everybody practices knowledge management, no matter what aspect you are, whether you're working for a county, whether you're working for a district court. There's all this information, as long as you're able to see opportunities and grab that information and retain it and then continue to recycle it and update it and give it to people, then I think that there's a lot of things that we could be doing better, that we could continue to do better. But people really have to be able to look for that information. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it's really interesting that this is the case. And when I think of like time to learning and onboarding new hires, often it's not how hard it is, it's how much time it takes.
mhm,
People and companies tend to make it hard for themselves by not having a great knowledge management system set up. So
mhm.
the onboarding just takes forever. And they're like, who's answering these questions? Like you said, from maybe customers coming in, like who's servicing them? Oh, well, this person's taking 8 weeks to train rather than 2 weeks, like you mentioned. So there's nobody servicing that.
And then also like with different onboarding programs, they have an onboarding process that takes like 6 to 8 weeks. And then a year from now, you go back and you see that there's different things that are not happening the way they were supposed to happen. And you're like, well, what happened? At what point did we stop doing that? And you go back to the person that was just recently hired and you're like, hey, you were supposed to be doing this process. And they're like, this was part of your onboarding process. Like, yeah, but that was like months ago. I didn't know that I was still supposed to be doing that. So also like it requires a follow up. So you have to, like when you're doing your onboarding and your training, you have to have some kind of follow up to where you're going back and you're ensuring that these processes are continuously being practiced. Because if you don't have, if they're not continuously practicing, you're not showing consistency. And when you're not showing consistency, then your employees lose integrity and that shows in the company. So then your company loses that integrity. So
Yeah, you don't want that. Now, sort of brings us to another question, which is, to be able to implement effective knowledge management systems, whether that's to reduce the time of onboarding and to make just overall systems more efficient, what are some of the hurdles that knowledge managers go through? So people who want to step in this position can have some expectations of some of the battles they may fight.
explaining or building curriculum and then having to explain to your manager why you need that training time or for that specific curriculum during a certain time frame. An example would be if you're creating an onboarding program and your onboarding program requires that you onboard employees, and for you that's going to take 2 weeks, and you have your curriculum detailed and line down a timeline. Managers are looking like, especially when you work for a company that is customer based or customer support based, the manager's looking like, why are you taking so much time to train this class? Why can't we do that in 30 minutes? Or why can't we make a 2-hour class and just make everybody go? Because I need people answering phones. So that, I think that's the biggest hurdle, is trying to communicate that it's vital for you to teach this curriculum during the time that you're given, because you want to be able for that employee to retain the information. Because if you can't sit through somebody through a 2-hour class and cram all this information and then say, okay, now go. Now you can go back to answering questions. For that employee, they're going to continue to practice whatever they're practicing, but they're not going to retain any information that you just shared with them. And so that's like another issue that I would see that knowledge managers would have, or an issue that they would have to learn how to explain the time needed for the curriculum that they're teaching to managers who are time pressed, because they're looking at the numbers. They're looking at how many clients were on the phone, how many resources do we have, and how much time is this going to take away from them? Because to them, even if it's an educational resource for our customer support team, they're still looking at the time, because to them, that's money being taken away for something that's needed, but that time frame is not needed. So just being able to explain that to your manager and have that constant communication with them, that has probably been the hardest.
Yeah, it's not easy for sure. And now when we think of the people who are watching this video, a lot of them are actually technical writers and people who have some background in documentation and have seen the knowledge management position pop up maybe at their company, or they're just looking to change careers. And some are also engineers. Now, if we want to think of like, why would someone want to step into this role? I'm sure there are maybe some signs that they can reflect on to be like, hey, this role is right for me. What were some of the signs that you realized that this role was right for you, and maybe some of the signs that other people can maybe ask themselves of whether this role would be right for them?
Well, it was primarily when I was working as a functional business analyst. I had everybody calling me. I felt like I was the 1-800 hotline. They're like, call Anna, she knows. Call Anna, she knows how to do that. If something were to break, they were like, call Anna, she can fix it. And I was really going over and looking at this information and see, well, how can I not be this 1-800 number? Because I want to be able to, for them to be able to find this information, even if I were to leave, if I were to get sick, God forbid, I get hit by a bus. There was a way that I needed to create to put this information. That way they would continue to have it, and I could work on projects that were initiatives instead of continuously taking the time to answer emails or run up to fix a computer or answer these phone calls. So as I was doing that, you kind of have to think I was already practicing knowledge management. So I was finding resources and making those resources available to everyone and really showing them where the resources were available to them and constantly keeping that information up to date. And then thinking back when I worked as like a supervisor or a manager, same thing. We were constantly making sure that we were harnessing training information and documentation work in the courts and making sure that information was continuously updated and handy for everyone. So I think if you're a person who enjoys learning, who takes pride in investing in yourself, that's probably number one, because if you're not going to invest in yourself, nobody else will. So just things like that. And then using the downtime that you have, not as a 20-minute coffee break, but really as an opportunity to, again, invest in yourself, whether it's reading or whether it's acquiring a new skill set. Those are things that are important to you, and those are things that keep you motivated and going. Then I would definitely push you to go into knowledge management, because you're already doing these things. You're already practicing these things. This is something that you feel that you like to do. If you like to teach people how to do something, if you like to learn how to do new things, if you like to be creative in the way that you're delivering this information to people, then I would definitely say then you would consider knowledge management.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think ultimately it's like it does take a good amount of interest in the product and also service that your companies are working with to be able to work in this type of role as well. You have to be passionate about the work. It's super important.
Yes.
And now, before we go, I know we covered a lot here today. Is there any more advice or anything you suggest for people who are looking to step into this role and make sure they succeed, whether that's how to land the role in the first place or just, again, succeed in the position?
So there was a class that I took years ago when I was first in college, and it was a statistics class. And it's generally the class that you take if you can't pass algebra. And I hate to say that out loud because algebra is hard for a lot of people. And generally, first year college students, if they can't get through algebra, then they quit. But what they don't tell you is that there's another offering called statistics. So in statistics, it's very important, especially when you're measuring progress. And it's a tool that you will use every single day in your career or in your lifetime. You're learning how to manipulate information, you're learning how to read data, you're learning how to retrieve data, and you're also learning how to create ways of presenting this data to people who don't have time to read through the numbers. So with statistics and learning statistics, you learn how to compile the information and deliver it in a presentable, I guess, which they like in plain English to other people. That way your managers and your directors are able to read this information because they only have 5 minutes to look at this for you to be able to tell them. And I think that has been the one class that I think, or the skill set that I learned very early that was able to get me to where I am today. Because if you're not able to read information, especially when you're in knowledge management, because companies want to see if they're investing in you, they want to see how it's benefiting them. So you need to be able to go back and look at the numbers, look at how many customer issues are coming in, look at how many customer issues we were able to resolve without even putting a ticket, that customers were able to log in, use this article, and then resolve their issue. You need to be able to measure these things, read it, and then deliver it back to your manager, your director, because that's the information that they want to see. They don't want to hear about the classes, the information, the curriculum that you're giving. They want numbers. They want to know that the money that they've invested in you has had a significant impact on their company. And if it's saving them money, then that's what they want to see, and you need to be able to present that.
Yeah, 100%. And communication is ultimately one of the most valuable skills, and communication looks like a number of different formats. Like you're saying, presentation. It's not just talking, but what's on
Yeah.
maybe the presentation that you've put together and what does that convey?
And also, important thing is go through the Microsoft applications. And because there's a number of different Microsoft applications that companies use that all kind of integrate. So if you're able to learn how one affects the other, especially when you're practicing knowledge management, then you're able to see where you can pull those numbers from and how you can use them. So definitely see work in those Microsoft 365 products. And as long as you have your basic knowledge and you know what talks to what and how you can integrate what things, I think that would get you a long way also.
Yeah, completely agree. And I just want to thank you so much for being here with us today, Anna, and all the stuff that we went over. And if students want to connect with you, can they connect with you on LinkedIn or another
Yes,
platform? Okay.
LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn, 100%. Or
So,
you have I can send you my business information and they can, you have my email address, so they can email me.
and if you're watching this video, that means that if you go to the text section below the video, you'll see her LinkedIn profile URL right there. So you can go and connect with her. And I just want to thank everybody for watching. And thank you, Anna, so much for being here with us today. And I wish you the best, and we'll rock and roll from here.
Okay, have a good day.
Cheers.